There's a frequency hidden beneath every decision you make, a silent current that shapes the course of your life long before you realize you've made a choice. It's not your mindset. It's not your vision board. It's not even your goals. It's that strange energy you carry when you're doing nothing at all. Most people spend years perfecting strategies, but never pause to question the signal they emit in their stillness. Think about it. How many people do you know who do everything right and still feel like life isn't flowing for them? They wake up early, journal religiously, plan meticulously, and still feel stuck in the same cycle. What if the real problem isn't what they're doing, but who they're being while doing it? And even more crucially, what if the universe isn't waiting for your effort, but for your resonance? Before we go deeper into this hidden language of reality, make sure you hit that subscribe button, not just to follow another creator, but to become part of a movement where science meets soul and we decode the quantum pulse of existence together. This space isn't about content. It's about coherence. And if you're still here, you're meant to be here. Now let's pull back the curtain on the illusion that doing more equals becoming more. That belief, though deeply ingrained, has led to global burnout, not breakthroughs. It's an outdated operating system that rewards exhaustion and calls it success. But the field we live in, the real one, responds not to your productivity, but to your internal signal. And that's where the game truly shifts. Have you ever noticed how certain people seem to magnetize opportunities effortlessly? It's not because they're lucky. It's because they've mastered their baseline frequency. Their lives reflect the energy they carry when they're not trying. It's not about becoming more impressive. It's about becoming more aligned. And that can only happen when you start listening to what's truly being broadcast. What if I told you that your results are less about effort and more about emotional electricity? That your energy enters a room before you do, and every space you walk into mirrors it back to you? This isn't metaphor. This is magnetic law. When you radiate congruence, when your thoughts, emotions, and nervous system speak the same language, the field responds in kind, often faster than logic can explain. But here's the catch. Most of us are unconsciously tuned to scarcity, not because we want to be, but because our history trained us that way. Your past doesn't just live in your memories. It echoes in your posture, in your breath, in the way you flinch at uncertainty. Until that loop is interrupted, no ritual will override it. Because the field doesn't hear what you wish. It hears what you repeat. Let's make this more personal. Imagine waking up tomorrow and doing nothing different. Same coffee, same morning, same routine. But this time, before you move, you check in not with your to-do list, but with your frequency. You ask, what am I silently broadcasting? If the answer feels tight, rushed, or invisible, you've already shaped your day before it begins. Most people live in emotional autopilot. They think they're making choices, but their energy made them hours ago. It's not about blame. It's about awareness. And once you realize that your signal shapes your sequence of events, you can begin to shift without force, without hustle. You recalibrate by feeling, not fixing, by remembering the version of you who no longer needs to perform alignment. Let's talk about performance. Spiritual performance is one of the most deceptive traps. It looks like devotion, feels like diligence, but it smells like fear. When you chant affirmations while your chest tightens, or visualize with clenched fists, the field doesn't translate your words. It echoes your tension. This is why so many well-meaning seekers feel stuck. Their doing contradicts their being. To change this, you don't need another technique. You need to drop the performance and become emotionally congruent. That means giving yourself full permission to feel safe, complete, and enough without the proof. Most people wait for life to validate their frequency. But the quantum field only responds to the internal yes that comes before any evidence. Think of coherence as emotional gravity. Pulls things toward you because it stabilizes your signal. In a world filled with scattered energy and surface-level fixes, coherence is rare. That's why it's powerful. The universe isn't ignoring you. It's waiting for you to stop pretending and start resonating. Real energy doesn't beg. It emanates. We are not meant to chase what we want. We are designed to attract what we are. But that truth is often buried beneath years of conditional self-worth. You were taught to earn your place, prove your value, and show your worth. Yet the field isn't transactional. It's responsive. The moment you stop negotiating with your desires, you begin to receive without resistance. Every time you feel anxious, pause. Not to analyze, but to observe. That pause is more than mindfulness. It's a pattern interrupt. It tells the field, I'm no longer living from survival. It's not about stopping thought. It's about choosing a new signal. And with enough repetition, that signal becomes your new baseline, your new identity. Here's a radical idea. What if your power doesn't come from knowing more, but from needing less? From trusting that the real you, the one beneath the striving, is already the frequency that unlocks everything you've been chasing. Not because you deserve it, but because you are it. We'll continue this journey by diving deeper into how to anchor this new identity in your daily life, in the subtlest of ways. Not with willpower, but with precision. Not with pressure, but with posture. You'll see how tiny energetic shifts become the most potent portals to a new reality. Have you ever walked into a room and felt tension without a word being said? That's energy. Precedes language, transcends intention, and bypasses logic. We live in a vibrational world that mirrors not what we say, but who we are, consistently, unconsciously, completely. And the quantum field, that invisible matrix of potential, is listening long before you act. This is why you can visualize success every morning and still feel invisible to the universe by nightfall. Because beneath your rituals lives a deeper truth, your default signal. The one you don't script, the one your body emits when you're not trying. It's shaped by your deepest assumptions about life, about love, safety, worth, and that signal never sleeps. People often ask why their manifestations aren't arriving. They point to the goals, the affirmations, the effort. But the real question is, what frequency are those goals riding on? You can say, I am abundant all day, but if your nervous system is wired for survival, your transmission is scrambled. The message is clear. Your body doesn't believe what your mouth is saying. This is the invisible contradiction that keeps timelines at bay. You're doing the work, but broadcasting doubt. You're writing your dream life, but radiating scarcity. You're setting intentions, but rehearsing fear. And the quantum field, indifferent to your words, simply responds to your emotional code. It's not personal. It's physics. Let's decode this. Emotion is the magnetic signature of your thoughts. It gives them weight, direction, velocity. Thoughts alone are static, but paired with emotion, they become a broadcast. That's why the same affirmation can manifest miracles in one person and nothing in another. It's not the phrase, it's the frequency behind it. So what forms that frequency? Repetition, emotional rehearsal, the way your body learns to expect life to unfold. If you've spent years preparing for disappointment, your field becomes fluent in defense. And even when you try to shift, your default setting pulls you back. Not because you're broken, but because your signal hasn't fully recalibrated yet. Here's the opportunity. You can change that signal not through effort, but through embodiment. Start by noticing the gap between what you declare and what you actually feel. Do you speak confidence while your stomach knots with hesitation? Do you write intentions but hold your breath when you press send? These are the cues, the tells, the truth beneath the try. Most people want to feel worthy after they achieve something. But in the quantum realm, the feeling comes first. Worthiness is not a reward. It's a resonance. And until you feel it fully and unapologetically, the field won't mirror it. That's not punishment, it's coherence. The field simply cannot echo a frequency that isn't stabilized. This is why trying harder often backfires. The effort itself communicates absence. Wanting says, I don't have. Chasing says, it's not here. Performing says, I'm not enough yet. But when you shift into embodiment, into the quiet, stable frequency of I already am, you collapse time. Reality begins to bend, not because you fought for it, but because you became it. You can't fake this. The universe reads energy like a code. It doesn't respond to your vision board, it responds to your vibration. And that vibration is most honest in the quiet moments. When you're alone, unwatched, unscripted. That's when your true frequency speaks the loudest. Imagine waking up tomorrow and instead of rushing into your tasks, you pause. You breathe. You ask, what is my energy saying right now? Not what I want, not what I need to prove, but what am I actually radiating? That single question can unravel years of unconscious programming. Because awareness is the first shift. You can't change what you're unaware of. But once you see the misalignment, you can begin to tune it. Slowly, gently, daily, with breath, with attention, with presence. That's how coherence is built, not in force but in feeling, not in scripts but in signals. The irony is, the more you need something, the less aligned you usually are to receive it. Need creates friction. It emits lack. And lack is not an invitation. It's a repellent. But sufficiency, presence, emotional sovereignty, that's magnetic. That's irresistible to the field. So what do you do when you notice you're out of sync? You don't spiral. You don't judge. You breathe. You recenter. You whisper 3 words that anchor you into truth. Maybe peaceful, open, grounded. And you feel those words not as desires, but as declarations of your current being. From there, the day becomes a practice in vibrational integrity. Not perfection, but awareness. Not control, but coherence. You walk, speak, and act from that signal. And when old triggers arise, as they will, you meet them not with panic, but with presence. That is the real shift, because life isn't testing you. It's echoing you. Every delay, detour, or disruption is simply asking, are you still coherent? Are you still the signal? And the more stable your frequency becomes, the less life feels random. The more reality organizes around your inner clarity. We'll explore how this coherence begins to physically shift your reality, even in the face of contrast. You'll see why embodiment isn't something you turn on during rituals. It becomes your natural state. The one the field recognizes. The one that bends reality with quiet authority. There's a version of you that's already living the life you've been trying to manifest. Not in the future, not in theory, right now, in a timeline that's already vibrating in the field, just waiting for you to tune in. The only thing standing in the way, the self you're still being, the identity you're unconsciously rehearsing every time you react from the past. Let's get honest. Most people try to manifest from their history, not from their destiny. They carry the emotional imprint of rejection, abandonment, fear, and then layer positive thinking over that wound. But frequency doesn't lie. You can't outscript an identity that's still broadcasting fear. You can only dissolve it. And that starts with noticing who you're being when no one's watching. Your identity isn't your name, job, or personality. It's your baseline vibration. It's the invisible posture you carry into every room. It's the way your heart clenches before you speak, the way you shrink when things go wrong. These microsignals form the energetic architecture of your life. Change them and reality begins to rebuild itself around a new blueprint. Think of it like this: your body is a transmitter and your identity is the frequency. You can install all the affirmations and techniques you want, but if the transmitter is still tuned to scarcity, that's what you'll keep attracting. Not because you're failing, but because the field is loyal to coherence. It echoes what is stabilized, not what is wished for. Here's the truth no one tells you. You are not manifesting from your conscious desires. You're manifesting from your subconscious assumptions. And unless you interrupt those assumptions, your future will look just like your past, no matter how many vision boards you create. It's not sabotage. It's system memory. Your body remembers who you've been more than who you're trying to become. But the good news is you can rewire that memory not with pressure, but with presence. You do it by feeling into a new identity, not thinking about one. You breathe differently. You speak slower. You walk like someone who is already chosen, already enough. Not because you're pretending, but because you're updating your internal code. Identity shift doesn't require a grand transformation. It starts in the subtle, in choosing not to flinch when you used to, in pausing when your old self would rush, in trusting when your nervous system wants to panic. These small pivots send massive ripples into the field, because when the signal changes, the timeline can finally attach to you. This is why so many manifestations stall. It's not the vision, it's the vessel. You're trying to live a new reality while staying loyal to an expired identity. And the field resists not out of cruelty, but out of coherence. Your new life cannot merge with a version of you that doubts its worth. That vibrational mismatch is the only real block. So ask yourself honestly, who am I being beneath the surface? Not who do I want to be, not what do I hope to feel, but what am I radiating right now? Is it safety or scarcity, trust or tension? These questions are more powerful than any strategy because they open the door to recalibration. Imagine for a moment the version of you who already lives in ease, who no longer needs proof to feel secure, who doesn't monitor every sign, every synchronicity, every silence. That version doesn't chase. That version doesn't flinch. That version doesn't perform. They simply are. And because they are, life begins to echo them effortlessly. Now, here's a gentle challenge. For the next few hours after watching this video, observe your micro-responses. How you react to a delay. How you respond to a compliment. How you breathe when you get a text. These are not random, they're data. They reveal the identity still running your system. And once you spot the old code, don't shame it. Thank it. Kept you safe. It helped you survive. But now you're not here to survive. You're here to shift, to step into a self that doesn't need to prove, chase, or earn. You're here to become a clear signal the field cannot ignore. So the next time you catch yourself acting from fear, pause, smile, breathe, and whisper, I remember who I am. That simple act begins to collapse the old script. Not because you forced it, but because you chose presence over panic. That's what power looks like in motion. And now, let's open the field together. Drop into the comments and share this. What version of you are you done rehearsing? Not to vent, not to seek sympathy, but to declare, to witness yourself. Your voice here sends a signal to your nervous system that something is shifting, and we'll hold that signal with you. Also, if this video stirred something real in you, subscribe. Not because we asked, but because you felt it. Because this space isn't just content. It's resonance. It's a space where identity becomes frequency and community becomes coherence. And your presence here makes that signal stronger for all of us. Most people wake up and immediately tune into the frequency of the past. Through notifications, news, old conversations, or the subtle tension of yesterday's unfinished loops. And in doing so, they unknowingly re-enter the very timeline they say they want to escape. Not because they lack discipline, but because they've never been taught to broadcast before receiving. What if your first act of the day wasn't consuming, but transmitting? Before checking the world, you check your field. You send out a coherent signal that tells life, this is who I am today. Not by force, not by fantasy, but by feeling. That single choice shifts the gravitational center of your day. Let's make it tangible. Before your feet hit the floor, choose 3 words. Not affirmations, but frequencies, states of being. Maybe it's stable, radiant, open, or grounded, magnetic, worthy. Whisper them. Let them echo through your chest. And then feel them. Let them fill your breath, your spine, your stillness. This isn't about being positive. It's about being congruent. Congruence is when your inner world stops contradicting your outer performance. When your nervous system no longer whispers, danger, while your mouth says, abundance. And once you align those, the field doesn't hesitate. It mirrors back stability with speed. This practice doesn't take hours. It takes honesty. Most people skip this because they're busy. But they're not busy, they're rehearsing stress. They're transmitting, "I don't have time," and the universe obliges. More delays, more pressure, more proof that their signal is working, just not how they intended. Here's the quantum truth. It's not about more action. It's about cleaner energy. A 90-second pulse of coherence is often more powerful than a 3-hour ritual performed in tension. Because the field doesn't measure how much you do. It registers how cleanly you're being. The fewer the distortions, the faster the feedback. Let's imagine two people doing the same ritual. One sits down in stillness, calm and centered. The other is rushed, checking the clock, hoping to get it right. Same tools, opposite results. Why? Because one is broadcasting safety and the other is broadcasting scarcity. The field doesn't care about their process, it responds to their pulse. So next time you begin your day, ask, is this an act of alignment or an audition for the universe? If it's the latter, pause, reset, strip it back. You don't need props, candles, or playlists to shift your field. You need presence. And presence can happen anywhere, in silence, in traffic, in the grocery store. Let's anchor this even deeper. Throughout your day, life will give you tiny invitations to return to coherence. A message that stings, a delay that frustrates, a comment that triggers. In those moments, don't react, transmit. Whisper your 3 words again. Re-enter your frequency. That is mastery, because spiritual maturity isn't how well you meditate. It's how steadily you stay in your signal when things don't go your way. That's when the field listens most attentively. Not during your rituals, but in your reactions. Not in your vision board, but in your emotional posture when uncertainty arises. This is where your real power lives, in the moment you choose your state over your story. When you interrupt an old identity that wants to flinch and instead, you stand still, shoulders open, eyes soft, heart steady. That moment reverberates across dimensions. That's how timelines shift in real time. And this isn't about suppressing emotion. Quite the opposite. It's about allowing emotion to pass without letting it become your identity. You can feel fear without broadcasting it. You can witness anger without anchoring in it. You can experience doubt and still walk in certainty. That's energetic sovereignty. Now pause and ask yourself, what have I been unconsciously broadcasting today? Not what I hoped, but what I embodied. Was it trust, or tension, certainty, or scarcity? This awareness is not judgment. It's your portal to a different timeline. The more honest you are, the faster the field responds. And here's something most people don't realize. When your energy shifts, you don't need to ask for things. They start arriving unannounced. Not because you manifested them, but because you matched them. That's the moment manifestation becomes memory. You don't attract, you reflect. So let's make this interactive. I want you to comment below not with a thought, but with your 3 words. The states you choose to broadcast today. Don't think too hard. Let your body speak. Post them as a declaration, not a wish. And when you see others' comments, feel the field expanding. We're not just watching, we're tuning together. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, not just to follow content, but to strengthen your signal. This space isn't about consuming information. It's about embodying transformation. Every video is a reminder, a recalibration, a pulse. And your energy here makes that pulse stronger for all of us. There's a moment in every inner journey where you stop needing signs and start becoming one. Where you no longer ask, is it working? Because your energy already knows. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. And that moment doesn't arrive through effort. It emerges when you finally stop chasing outcomes and start embodying presence. The world tells you to hustle for results, but the field, it waits for coherence. That subtle shift from grasping to grounding is where the magic begins. You're not manifesting faster because you're doing more. You're manifesting cleaner because you're no longer contradicting yourself. That is surrender, not giving up, but finally tuning in. Surrender isn't passive. It's precision. It's the stillness of a heart that trusts while the mind doesn't understand. It's walking forward with clear eyes and a soft chest. No tension, no urgency, just embodied knowing. And that knowing, when stabilized, becomes the most magnetic frequency you can carry. When you surrender attachment, you open the portal to acceleration. Why? Because you're no longer resisting time. You're no longer asking, when? You're living as if it's already done. And the field, governed by resonance, responds not to hope, but to harmony. The moment you stop performing, you start attracting. The paradox is real. When you stop needing it, it comes. When you stop reaching, it arrives. Because your frequency is no longer signaling lack. It's signaling presence. And presence is irresistible to the field. It doesn't pull things in, it becomes the place where things land. This is what Neville Goddard meant by living in the wish fulfilled. Not visualizing the future, but vibrating now as if there is no future, only this moment and your full presence in it. It's not fantasy, it's frequency, and frequency always finds its match. So how do you practice this surrender? Not by forcing yourself to believe, but by consistently choosing not to betray your current peace just to secure a future outcome. That means saying no to worry, saying no to rushing, saying no to proving, and saying yes to rest, to trust, to resonance. It also means trusting your intuition when it tells you to stop. When it says, wait, let it come to you. That still, quiet guidance isn't laziness. It's intelligence. It's your internal signal calibrating to something higher than logic. And that guidance will never lead you wrong. You might feel resistance at first. That's okay. Your nervous system has been trained for effort, not ease. Give it time. Let the new frequency settle into your breath, your spine, your presence. You don't have to fake stillness. You have to practice remembering it. Eventually, ease becomes your baseline. Not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. The field didn't change, you did. Your emotional posture became your power. Your vibration became your voice. And from that place, manifestation feels less like magic and more like math. It's just resonance returned. You no longer flinch when something's delayed. You no longer grasp when something's uncertain. You lean back not to escape, but to receive. You move through life not as a seeker, but as a transmitter. Your presence begins to organize your reality without the noise of proving anything. This is the final shift. You stop trying to become and you start being. Fully. Without apology. Without performance. You're not waiting anymore. You're not asking anymore. You're walking, breathing, living as the version of you the field can't ignore. Because you are the coherence. Now, if something in this video spoke to you not just mentally but viscerally, this is your moment to step deeper. First, subscribe to the channel. Not because I asked, but because something in your field recognized home here. Because we're not building a following, we're building a frequency. And I want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments. What shift did this video awaken in you? What identity are you letting go of? What vibration are you choosing now? Your story could be the exact transmission someone else needs to feel safe to shift. Let's amplify this field together. And if this content helped you pause, breathe, or see yourself differently, share it. Not to grow numbers, but to spread coherence. Send it to someone who's been trying too hard. Let them know they can rest into their power, that the chase is over, that the signal has changed. Because from this moment on, you are not trying to get there. You are walking as if you already are. And the field will feel that. And it will move. And it will bring you exactly what matches the you that no longer waits. Welcome to the signal. You are it.